Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to Speed Talk episode 15. I'm Zach207 as always. This episode was only a week wait because the last episode took 3 weeks and I try to do these every 2 weeks, so decided to get back on schedule by doing this one a bit sooner. Today I'm joined by the famous Super Mario Odyssey TASer, to my right, PlacidMink. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm PlacidMink. I make TASes, tool-assisted speedruns of Mario Odyssey. Mainly, that's what I do. Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be looking at one of the tasks today to kind of get a visual. And then most of the rest of the episode will just be asking different questions about the tasks and about how tasking works in this game. I think TAS is kind of outside of the Odyssey community. It's probably not super known about that there are tasks of Odyssey since there's no full game task yet. So it'll be pretty interesting, hopefully. But before we get to tasking, I want to learn a little bit about how you got into the Odyssey scene. So first, the first question is one that I've been asking for the last few episodes now, finding out the origin of people's usernames. So what is the origin of the username PlacidMink? I'm very curious.
So, in like 2020, I was a big Smollett fan, and his name is an adjective and then an animal. And so I just looked up a random adjective generator and a random animal generator, and I got Placid and Mink, and that's my name now.
That is like such a thing that you would do, I feel like, to make your username as some random generator. That's crazy. It could have been so many different usernames. That's
Yeah,
kind of
I could have
crazy.
been Big Donkey.
Could have been like Fearsome Tiger or something. Could have been crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's an interesting username origin. Haven't heard anyone else do that, so pretty creative. Um, so yeah, what was to before you got into the Odyssey community, what was like your first video game as a child? For me, it was New
my
Super Mario
first video
Bros. DS.
was Mario Kart Wii. Um,
Yeah,
My mom had a Wii, and so she would let me play Mario Kart Wii on her Wii,
nice,
and that was a long time ago. I guess that was like 12 years ago, probably,
cool.
which is crazy to think about. But
Yeah, you are a big Mario Kart guy, right? That's what I've
yeah, yeah,
heard.
yeah, yeah. I play a lot of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Really excited for Mario Kart World coming out next week,
Yeah,
and
because I did the
yeah,
episode with Grady and Bronze Space Comet, and they like originally suggested I add you onto that, but I was like, I'll probably have Placid on a future episode, since obviously you got all the tasking too. So yeah. Anyway, so how did you eventually get into speedrunning?
so I got the game in 2018 for my birthday in the summer, and at first, I mean, I think I beat the game in like 8 hours originally because I don't play games casually that much. I didn't watch any of the cutscenes. I was just trying to beat the game as fast as possible, like from my first playthrough, and then I started watching. I think it was DGR with like the Is It Possible challenges. Um, I remember trying Metro Impossible for like a few hours uh, on like the second day that I got the game, and then eventually I found Smallant through YouTube. Um, it just got recommended to me, and I was watching his sub area showdown videos. Those are pretty old, and I think they're unlisted now. But and then I found his speedrunning tutorial, and I watched that, and then I learned the speedrun, and then I found speedrun.com and the Discord server for uh, Mario Odyssey speedrunning, and then yeah, from there I just did more and more speedruns, and then I think in 2022 I found out about TASing and started getting into that.
Nice. So you've been around in like interacting with the community since 2018?
Yeah, I think so. But I wasn't in the Discord until 2019, I think,
Okay.
because I wasn't old enough to have a Discord account. And I still wasn't in 2019, but we don't.
Yeah. That was I'm happy I waited till I was old enough to like join the community because
Mhm.
I was something in 2020 and that was when I was 13. So if I joined before that, it would have been hell. Um, but when it comes to tasks, first of all, quickly for the viewers who don't know anything about anything, explain what is tasks?
So a TAS basically is a tool-assisted speedrun where you program a list of all the inputs in order um, for a theoretical perfect playthrough of the game, and then you use, in this case, mods, but sometimes you make a physical robot to execute those inputs in real time um, in the game, and so basically it just makes Mario go faster, like perfectly fast, ideally.
Yeah, there's a lot of tasks of older games, obviously. I know Odyssey's a newer game, but what's like the different like hardships that you have to deal with when it comes to tasking Odyssey that doesn't exist with like the older games?
Yeah, so for Odyssey, there's no save states yet. Uh, with other games, there's like you can make a save state, which basically means you can save the state of the game and then you load that later, and you can like travel back in time, kind of like that, or just like instantly cut to a different part of the task. Whereas with Odyssey, you have to wait for the entire beginning of the task to play through, and then get to the end of the task where you can where or just get to the part of the task where you're trying to change, and sometimes that takes like a minute each time you retry, and so that can be very time consuming and
Yeah,
tedious. Whereas in other games, it's like if you want to change the part a minute through the task, you can just load a minute into the task. You don't have to wait that minute, and then you can just change it from there.
nice. So what was appealing about tasking to you when you first started tasking? What were like some of your first tasks?
So I first started tasking. I first started out with the fuzzy sub area in Lake Kingdom, because I thought it was a cool sub area, and I wanted to task it. Well, I don't know if I wanted to task it, but I wanted to see a task of it, and no one was making one, so I decided to. And I never finished that task, but it got me into the scene for sure. And yeah,
All right.
I think my next task was, I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Bowser fight in Moon Kingdom.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. So yeah, now we'll move on to a task that hasn't come out yet as of the video's recording, but by the time the video comes out, it should come out. Um, I think you said it will come out Friday or something. But this is a
Yeah.
very interesting task because it is involved in a reroute that a lot of people probably don't even know is a thing. And it's a pretty cool reroute because it changes the kingdom's order for which I think this was found like this whole kingdom reroute stuff was found like a few months ago, right? Or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe like one
So
month ago, actually.
yeah, it's really recent and it's kind of crazy because I believe this is like the first time where the kingdom order is kind of messed with in a speedrun for Odyssey. For any percent at least. And it'll be pretty interesting when the full task comes out in like 1,000 years. So I'm excited for that. So first we are going to look at this task. Unfortunately, my computer sucks, so Placid will have to just guess where we are. It'll be a fun game. So this is the luncheon multi-moon, which we now get again in any percent, using brunchin or meat skip and stuff, which is a whole other topic that we'll talk about after discussing the task itself. But first of all, right, well, first I'll let the task play out in its entirety just for the viewers. Um, so right now it just faded out, and now we're like doing this thing before the salt moon, just describing your own tasks here real quick, just in case you forget. Um, so yeah, we got the salt moon. Now we're getting this moon. Pretty unique moon. You don't get this in, you've never gotten this in any percent before. Now this is a new moon. It is a lot faster than it ever is RTA, which makes sense. All right, and yeah, now we're just rolling across the arena, and just like that, boom, that is the task. Now that's one small segment of what will be Luncheon Kingdom in the full game two-player task. I should have mentioned this as two-player. Now people are probably confused why Mario was like teleporting places and stuff. But yeah, this is a cool task. I think this was the last part of Luncheon that you had to task, right? At least to that hasn't been tasked yet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a small section after that, just getting the moon in that sub area, but
Would that
that's
just
already been
be the
tasked.
yeah, Arome task that? Is that like is
Hmm.
Arome's quick task of that little part like improvable or
I mean, I'll try improving it, but I don't know. I've never looked at the sub area really in depth.
okay. So yeah, right off the bat here, we can already see the cutscenes do not exist after the multi-moon, which I imagine saves a lot of time. And that is because uh in this is a crazy reroute that I guess I'll let you explain the whole reroute if you'd like, because you're probably better at it than me.
Okay, so yeah, so well, the first thing is that you pick wooded first, instead of lake. Usually after Sand Kingdom, you pick lake first because it just defaults to lake, and but you lose a frame to actually select wooded first, and that makes it so that the painting, um, in the painting in Lake Kingdom will go to Luncheon, the one in the courtyard, and so at the end of Lake Kingdom, we take the painting to Luncheon, and we can do an Insanity Elite Trick Jump on 1.3 to get down to the mainland from the Painting Island in Luncheon. And then we can collect a bunch of moons while we're there. Um, so we do. And we collect a few moons, and then we do Captureless Meat Skip, which is a trick usually done in a couple minutes by using turnips to climb up the mountain. But for the task, you don't have that much time to waste. So instead, you do 10 frame perfect inputs called slope vaults, where you can vault off of the slope of a mountain. So you do 10 of those in a row, and then you can get all the way up to the pot, where the just below the multi moon, and then you can do a damage clip into the pot on the right cycle, so that the bottom of the lava of the pot catches Mario, and you bounce up the pot, and then you get the multi moon. And normally, you're not even supposed to have the multi moon's not supposed to be there. But in the Brunchin scenario, it is there before you beat Spirit and before you get the Cheese Rocks story moon. So, because you haven't beat Spirit or gotten the Cheese Rock story moon yet, the cutscene after the multi moon does not play because it thinks that you haven't even started the story line yet. Um, and
So
then
yeah,
after you get the multi moon, you get a couple more moons to get to the 18 moons you need to leave Luncheon, and then you switch into assist mode actually, and that brings you back to Lake because the game didn't. Uh, the game won't put you back in Luncheon because it doesn't realize that you're in Luncheon. It thinks that you're still in Lake. But yeah,
yeah, it's a pretty crazy reroute. And I'm imagining it just saves a lot of time because obviously you can get the multi-moon really quickly. Um, and there's no cutscenes really after that. So it's just like 3 free moons, and then you can just get this extra torch moon afterwards, and it's just you don't have to go through all of the struggles of the all the movement and stuff in Speedrunner's route. You can kind of just skip a lot of the slow moons, and pretty much every moon is really fast now in Luncheon. Like even like the first moon that's like right there, for example, that you roll right past in the TAS, which I can try to show for the viewers in case they forgot. Right, goes so fast that I can barely even get to it. Right there, that first moon. Even that's like not fast because obviously it has the cutscene attached to it. So it's like a 15-second moon, and all the moons are just so quick that that one's just slow now. So it's just cool. It's a cool reroute, and then there's also like the early day reroute that we'll probably talk about later. So the whole like first half of the game is completely messed around with now, which is really cool for two-player tasks and specifically unrestricted two-player tasks. Placid mentioned the assist mode switching, and obviously in RTA, anyone who's familiar with any percent, you're not allowed to do assist mode. Um, so restricted tasks the restricted tasks uh doesn't allow assist mode, and then the unrestricted task does allow assist mode, I believe, and it's like is the plan to do a task of both of those, I believe, right? Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that'll be interesting, and it'll be interesting how much energy has to be put into just making a task of both of those, since the route might now be completely different for each of them. Whereas originally I think it was not supposed to be like a super different route when that was kind of being decided on. So that should be cool. Um, as for the task itself, because that was kind of just an overview of the route, let's see. So the first part is obviously this thing, and this was a really cool strat that I wasn't expecting. Is this like fire dram? I'm curious, how much does this save over just doing salt triple normally?
So the Firebro Dram, and I can actually check here. I think it saves around 3 seconds over
Really?
just doing Soul Triple normally. Yeah.
Wow. I thought it'd be like
Um,
a couple tenths of a second.
no, it's like 3 seconds. Well, it's a lot because you get up to the store to the moon almost as fast as you would normally get up there.
Really? That's
Well, not
crazy.
really. It's like a second slower, but then you don't spend like the 5 seconds it takes to roll down the salt and all the way over to the fire bro.
Yeah, that
Uh,
makes sense.
I think I did the math, and it would have even been faster if you just uncaptured and went straight to the pillar shadow moon. Like even if you weren't doing the torches moon.
Wow. And then
Yeah.
with the torches, man, it probably saves even more, obviously.
hmm hmm
So yeah, it's pretty cool that you can make it up there without Cappy with the cheese rocks there. Because I guess the cheese rocks aren't there on your first visit, so that's another advantage you have to this to doing it after the
Yeah.
multi, right? Yeah,
Yeah. You can't do it if you don't do brunch, and you can't do that. So
that's cool. Yeah.
that's another reason why the route is fast.
Yeah, I mean that did you know about this like before you started tasking it, like this strat, or did you kind of just come up with it like while you were tasking it?
I knew that the torches moon might be fast, but I didn't know. I hadn't thought about that strat until like halfway through. I was, um, yeah, when I started this part of the test, I was
So
thinking
were
about
you
it.
tasking like did you start tasking normal salt triple before you figured this out, I guess?
So kind of just what I do when I'm about to task something is I just do a lot of movement, um, RTA, which is real time attack. Um, I just do a lot of movement like just by myself, without the tools, to try to get a feel for the segment and figure out what's fast. And I was looking at Salt Triple, and it was feeling really slow because you don't start. You can't buffer a spin pound out of that multi-moon cutscene,
Okay.
and and so that's why the TAS doesn't spin pound there, just as a normal roll. And because you can't buffer a spin pound, you can't set up triple throw, or you can, but it'd be much slower for skew, which we might talk about later. But it's like basically just makes you jump higher faster, which is really fast for salt triple. And I was a little peeved that I could not get skew for salt triple, because it would be really fast. And so I was just thinking about any other way that I could do that movement. And eventually I was like, what if I just go over there and leave Cappy by the Firebro? Because I need to capture the Firebro anyway. So,
Yep.
and
Pretty
then,
smart.
yeah, when I
Pretty
tried it,
smart
it
on you.
was really fast. So,
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And then obviously after that, you just get the torches very quickly. No one would do that RTA because the Firebirds are stupid. And then I like how the spiny is the spiny RNG where it is? Because you're like right in front of that thing.
well, when the Spiny moves, it is RNG, but I'm too fast. The Spiny isn't able to move by the time I get there. Uh,
Okay.
so it's not a problem. But if I took longer, if I was looking at the Spiny more, really, then the Spiny would move, and that would be RNG, and that'd be annoying.
Okay. And then after you roll, you like kind of stand still for a second before you do the spin drill into the moon, which I believe the spin drill is just so that you can basically be on the ground after you get the moon, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically. And the reason I stand still is because I'm waiting for the Torches cutscene to play, uh,
Yeah.
so I don't really have to be moving during that time.
Yeah. How do you
But
like
yeah,
buffer the spin like that, like after just standing still?
so I buffer the spin during the roll, um, and then after you buffer the spin, you have a little bit of grace period where you can hold neutral, and then you can hold a direction again, and it'll still spin you after you
Oh
hold that
yeah.
direction.
I do remember that tech actually in the I think it was Small Ant when he was going for cap Comsob or something, and he was talking about that tech in the situation of the lever, where you just like hold neutral after the jump
Mm-hmm.
dive, and then you just can hold forward, and then you'll get your spin. So that does make sense. Um, so then after this, you do this, the two vaults. This part's not. I don't know. Is there any like hidden tech that I'm not catching here? Is it just as simple as
Uh,
it is?
for the moon grab on the Pillar Shadow Moon, I'm actually using Skew to grab the moon farther
Okay.
forwards and higher. Um, so basically, if Mario is like upside down or sideways and he does a cap throw, then um, it'll make him actually upside down. When he's normally upside down, he's not actually upside down. The game doesn't realize that he's upside down. It just looks like that. But when you do a cap throw, it actually changes Mario's orientation to be upside down. And so you can abuse that with a moon because when you grab a moon, the when you grab a moon, it snaps Mario to where his feet are, like upright where his feet are. So if you grab a moon where with Mario's head, but his feet are farther away, then it'll snap him to his feet. Um, and so that saves a bit of time because I put Mario's head in the moon and his feet closer to where I want to be.
Okay. That might make sense. For the viewers, you might have to rewind that a
Yeah.
few times to fully grasp whatever was just said. That's the thing with TASers, is they're just too smart for the normal human to comprehend. Um, it's
Well,
like
I don't know about that.
it's rocket science to think about when you, especially if you like don't know anything. It takes a while before you can understand what's going on, but it's just 'cause I don't know, they're just built different. And then after the moon, the nice thing about um not doing spiritless or doing brunchin obviously is that spirit's not here yet because it's not the first visit,
Mhm.
so you can just roll straight through the arena, so that probably saves a lot of time too. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that actually saves a lot of time, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
I can check now. It saves uh, it saves 1.5 seconds, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Um,
My guess was gonna be
over
like
doing
six
the jump,
seconds.
but that is a lot of time for TAS.
That
But
is
yeah, well, the jump is just really not that slow. Um, You don't have to
That's
slow down
surprising.
much in two-player, at least, because you can just vault and vault again and make it.
Yeah.
But it's just a slower line that you're taking with the vault, so that's where all that time loss is.
That's surprising that that saves half the time as the Firebird ram earlier. It's like a little surprising to me, but it makes sense, I guess, when you think about it. Right. And for the viewers, if you want to watch this rolling action one more time, there you go. All right, that's that task. Pretty cool task. Um,
Yeah.
so that's just one of Placid's most recent tasks. I don't know, there might be some other tasks coming out before this video comes out, but I don't know if I should say it's up to Placid. That should be said because
I don't
for all I
know.
know. Yeah,
We will never
yeah.
know. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of cool tasking action going on now, though it seems. And yeah, so that being said, I notice you typically have a pattern, I feel like, where you start a different task and then you'll move on to a different task before you finish the previous one. I'm curious, why is this the case? Does like the previous one just get boring or exhausting or too difficult, or do you just not like
so,
finishing things?
well, I like finishing the tasks at least, but sometimes when I'm spending too long on a segment, like I think I was doing 20 hours on that task before I did this one. Um, I had spent like 20 hours on the task from Fork's Room to the Meat Multi-Moon, which is the longest segment of
Right.
lunch. And obviously, the longer the segment, the more tedious is this task. The longer you have to wait every time that you run the task. And so I had spent about 20 hours on that one, and I was only about halfway through. And so I thought, I don't want to sit here for another probably 40 hours. Um, so I just took a break from that to do this one. But I'll go back to it soon. But a lot of times with the other tasks, it's like I do get frustrated with them because with Wooded, for example, you need to do a
Yeah.
rule cancel clip. For the next part that I have to task, you need to do a rule cancel clip. And for tasks, rule cancel clips are really stupidly difficult for some reason. Like it's so much easier to do a rule cancel clip just by I can do a rule cancel clip easy, especially that one. That one's really easy rule cancel clip. But the task just so much harder for like no reason, and I don't understand why that is. Well, I'm starting to maybe understand why that is, but um, it's just a lot harder for the task to do that, and so you get to spending like 10 hours on just a roll cancel clip, like I did in Lake, because you need to do another roll cancel clip in Lake. So I never finished the Lake task because I spent 10 hours on that stupid roll cancel clip. And now I need to change the Lake task anyway, but uh, if I spend too long on like a certain trick, then I'll just get either bored of it or just too frustrated with how it just isn't happening. And the same thing was also with the other luncheon test. Before we discovered this reroute, the end of a similar segment from Cheese Room to the Magma Narrow Path sub area, the um, the end of that test did a ledge clip. Basically, you can squeeze Mario through a corner if you're in the precisely right position, um, with the precise amount of speed that you need to be able to do that. But it was just not happening with the task, and it was frustrating because I spent probably like 10 more hours on that ledge clip and it wasn't working, and it was just the same thing over and over and over again. So pretty boring, frustrating. So I didn't want to start doing other things.
Okay. So for tasks that have already been tasked by other people, I'm assuming there isn't a way to like do you ever like copy like I guess the code or whatever it is from their tasks and just like put it into your tasks, or do you have to basically like no matter what start completely fresh because some small thing might be different?
So I will sometimes. Um, for example, in Lake, I just used the start of Lake. I just used Arome's task completely for that. Um, which Arome made a task of Lake, and it's really cool. But there was new strats that have been found, so I was redoing Lake, and so I just used the start of that test, and then I spliced my own stuff on top of that. But with other stuff where the change to a segment is like at the beginning, um, everything after that change is going to be different because small changes in like you can't like if you grab a moon, there's gonna be small differences in the camera angle of the moon grab, small differences in where Mario is, and those small differences, if you just copy the script from like, for example, the I've already tasked the segment from the jutting crag moon to the behind tall mountains moon, um, just as part of the cheese room to magma narrow path sub area task, but and that segment is going to be the same in the Bruncheon task, except after the Behind Tall Mountains Moon, you do Meat Skip, and before the Jutting Crag Moon, you go from Forks. Um, but the camera angle on the Jutting Crag Moon is like completely different, and the position is also different. So any small differences, if I were to copy the script over from the Cheese Room task um, over the ones from Forks Room, then the small differences would compound, and eventually the test would just like be completely off, and it wouldn't make any sense. It would be doing random stuff that it just wouldn't accomplish its goal. And also sometimes when I restart fresh, I find new time saves as well. Like I think for that jutting crag to turnip moons, I saved like 7 frames over my old task, which isn't a lot. It's like 0.12 seconds, but I mean it's still time save. Every frame adds up, and so eventually that gets to an overall lower time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, how long does like the average, well, I guess every task is different, but for like what's the longest you've spent on one task?
The longest I've spent on one task is for sure the Bruncheon task, because um, I would still call it one task where the segment from Cheese Room to Magma Narrow Path sub area, I spent like 80 hours on that task, and I never finished that, obviously, as we were talking about. But I spent another 20 hours on the one from Forks Room to Jutting Crag to the Turnip Moons, and I would kind of consider it like the same task because a lot of it's the same stuff. Um, Part of the reason why the cheese room one took so long is because the first 20 hours or so were basically useless because I was tasking everything wrong. Uh, and I had to redo it all because I was using um, like the stick sensitivity was crazy. It was like if you move the stick a little bit, it moves the stick like 15 times that, and because I had an error in my script that was converting the task to from what I can read to what the Switch can read. Um, so I had to change that, and then that lost about 20 hours of work because I had to restart the whole task with that new stuff. So yeah, that one took a really long time, and then the one that I'm doing now from Forks Room is also going to take a really long time as well.
Okay, makes sense. So obviously, I guess we'll talk about the morning metro route because that's the other kingdom change, which I think was pretty recent too, like within the last couple months. So I guess now what the task does is they do Harriet fight in sand, um, which it's crazy to see like all these like the progression, how multi-moons were fast at the beginning and then they kind of got taken away very quickly, and now they're just fast again because of all this weird ass shit. But like now there's night sand, and then you get all the moons in sand, you go into the metro painting, you do instant CRC, and then you do all that metro stuff, and then this is all for unrestricted, I believe. And then you just go back to sand to go to wooded. So what was that process of finding all of that out like? And yeah.
Yeah, so most of the route was actually theorized a long time ago. I say a long time ago, but it was like 6 months ago, probably. Late last year, I found the fast CRC to get from the Painting Island and Metro Kingdom to the mainland. Basically, when you warp to a checkpoint, Cappy is stored at the start of the kingdom, and then what the game does is at the end of the checkpoint warp, it just teleports Cappy from there to Mario. But if you know anything about minimum captures, they do CRCs, Cappy return cancels. Basically, you can cancel when Cappy returns to Mario. Specifically, when Cappy teleports to return to Mario, you can cancel that action. And it's the same action after a warp. It's Cappy teleporting to return to Mario, so you can cancel it. And you can also change its direction. So usually, there's two ways to do what's called an iCRC, an instant CRC, because it happens instantly. Whereas for a normal CRC, you have to do a bunch of ground pounds and then wait 3 seconds for Cappy to return. For an iCRC, there are 3 types. There's a shake, a Y press, and then an A press. With the shake, basically it just does like a CRC with Mario's facing angle. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you do a CRC, it basically the game doesn't create a sphere, but you can imagine a sphere is created with Mario and Cappy at the endpoints, Cappy's original position and Mario at the endpoints of the sphere, both on opposite sides, and then anywhere on that sphere, if Mario's line of sight intersects that sphere, then that's where Cappy's going to go after the CRC. And for the iCRC specifically, you can also use you can do this for any CRCs, but for the iCRC it's useful. You can use Cappy's direction to influence Mario's line of sight. So if you hold a direction, it'll intersect the sphere. And then, so an A-B press, or A or B press iCRC will just send Cappy back to the original spot. Shake does a CRC with Mario's facing angle or Cappy's holding angle. And a Y press does the same thing, but the shake lets you have control of Cappy afterwards, which is useful specifically for the iCRC because we need to jump, get up to the wire because the wire is taller than where Cappy is. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of a lot of details. I don't know if that is maybe too in the weeds of things, or I don't know how well the viewers will be able to follow that.
I'm sure it'll depend on the viewer. I'm sure a few people like I know VGR
Yeah.
watches all these. I'm sure he just learned something. So I don't know. I'm sure some people will be able to follow that, and some people will have to rewind and watch it again, which is good for the viewership. So everyone should go do that.
Right. Yeah.
If you didn't understand what he just
Rewind the
said, just
video.
keep watching until
Give
you
the
do.
video like 5 watches. You know, play it while
Yeah,
you go to sleep.
this one might need a
Um,
few rewatches for some people.
if you play
But
it on loop while you go to sleep, you'll absorb the information through osmosis. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah. Anyway, so that iCRC I found like 6 months ago, and at the time we thought it might be useful because, the whole idea of the Morning Metro route is that you fight Harriet instead of fighting Mecha Wiggler, and Harriet's a faster boss fight than Mecha Wiggler is, so in theory it could be fast, but we never had the other things needed to be fast as well, and now the CRC is fast, so we were trying to figure stuff out with that. But before, we weren't considering the switching to assist mode at the end of the kingdom to take you back to the Odyssey in the previous kingdom. So, in this case, you're switching out of assist mode actually because you need to be out of assist mode for luncheon because you can do meat skip only not in assist mode. But it's the same premise, and we hadn't considered that until like the same time as the Bruncheon was discovered. And then when we implemented that into the routing, it went from Morning Metro went from being like 25 seconds slower to being like 5 seconds slower, which is really significant. And then also that was with a lot of unoptimized segments and things that weren't that were improvable more than the Night Metro stuff. So I did some more TASing recently, probably like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I don't know. And finally, I proved that Morning Metro is barely faster, but it'll probably get more faster. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
there's more stuff to be improved there than there is in the normal route. So it'll probably get more fast uh, as more stuff is tasked, especially IP skip. IP skip's really improvable of a BTT segment.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there
Um,
was like with Metro, obviously at one point in time, Metro was like almost completely finished with tasking, I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe not with 2P. I think close enough. But now obviously it's like completely different, so you have to task pretty much all of it again. How defeating is it when you spend all these hours tasking something and then a new route is discovered, often by you, that just like makes all of that like somewhat pointless and you have to just start over again?
I don't know. I don't know if I would even call it defeating. I feel like a lot of the time I just find it really cool um, to see the new strats and the new route. But I don't know. The old task still exists. You can still watch
Yeah.
it, but it's like um, I don't know. I guess it's just like the more stuff, the more new things that I find, the more stuff there is to task in the future, and I guess that's a little bit disheartening sometimes. I try not to think about it that much,
Yeah.
because if I think about it too much, then it's not great. But yeah, usually it's not really a problem in that. Just sometimes I get burnt out from tasking too much in a short period. But other than that, I'm not a lot of motivation issues.
Makes sense. What is there any task that's like caused a big burnout from tasking?
Yeah, for sure. There was one task in specific. The we've talked about it like 15 times, but it's the cheese rocks to magma
Yeah.
narrow path sub area task. Um, I spent so long on that task, and I did one stream where I tasked for like 14 hours. And that was a bad idea. That was on election day. I didn't have school that day. Um, and I didn't task for like 3 weeks after because I was just like, ooh. Um, but also some other tasks have. I think Escape. I had a pretty big burnout because um, 2DSS was really tough, and it took a while to get that. And after I got 2DSS, I was just like, yes, I just want to be done. I don't want to touch this task anymore. Um, but yeah, a lot of the time I just find like other. I just have little spurts where I'm interested in other games. Like right now, I'm also kind of playing 3D World a lot. Um, Speedrunning that game is fun, and so sometimes I'll take a break from casting as well to play other games. But I always come back.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, do you wish there were more people tasking nowadays? Because there's not too many people I feel like actively tasking like you are. At least right
I
now, there's not too many.
Yeah. I do kind of wish that there were more people in the tasking scene. But I understand that it's a little bit hard to get into because you need to have a modded Switch or an emulator to even do it, and some of the tech can seem really daunting to new people. But it's really not that bad. I swear it's not that bad. But no one seems to believe me. Um, I mean, there's not that few people, I guess, doing it right now, but there's not as many people doing it consistently. Um, because like I'm obviously tassing, but occasionally um, Zivler tasses, um, and well, this I think he's gonna start tassing a little bit more over the summer because he's been at college, but he makes really good tasses. Mr. Cats and Gaming tasses sometimes. Um, Sometimes I'll see Intral tasing, Bella tasked once. There's a lot of people that like make one task and then like not that many tasks. But McPhee made a task, Lex made a task, Wallow made a task. Wallow made a lot of tasks actually.
Yeah, Wallow's
There's a lot of
making
people
it.
that make like a couple tasks, but there's not a lot of people that make a lot of tasks. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think there's just I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice if there were more people making tasks because I'm kind of the only one that's making tasks for two-player stuff. And I think two-player is really cool, but I understand a lot of people like one-player more because I think sometimes the movement in one-player is cooler than the movement in two-player because you have to do a lot more shenanigans with like cap throws and roll cancels and stuff. Whereas in two-player, if you want to end a roll, usually you're just going to vault out of the roll, and there's not a whole lot to it. Um, but yeah, I can understand people that think that one player movement is cooler than two player, but I think two player definitely has better or cooler strats and techniques than one player, especially with all the drams that you can do and using skew to jump higher and all that stuff. So, and the routes, obviously, the two
Yeah.
routes that we talked about.
I kind of like two-player tasks more than one-player in a way. I think the thing with one-player tasks that's appealing, I know Buster's told me this a couple times, but it's just that it feels more relevant because everyone runs one player and not many people run two players. So it's like you see kind of like it's like strats and tasks like are more likely to be added to RTA in the future, and I guess it's more impactful to the RTA scene. I'm curious if that will change soon a little bit with Switch 2 because the update's supposedly going to have two-player online, so maybe more people will start running that, which would be cool to see. I know I'm hoping to try that out. Hopefully it's not laggy as hell and it's just terrible and no one does it. Um, but yeah, that should be fun. When it comes to Switch 2, are you worried at all about the Odyssey update and how that might affect tasking or the run as a whole?
Well, for starters, I mean, obviously, with the Switch 2, it's not going to be immediately, it might be, but it probably won't be immediately moddable. Um, so we aren't going to run TASes on Switch 2 for a while. We're not going to be able to until the modding scene figures out how to hack the Switch 2 or how to jailbreak it, and then we can get our grubby paws on the Switch 2. But uh, the other things the Switch 2 will affect is it might make the load times faster, because obviously it's running better hardware than the Switch 1, and also the Switch 1 is underclocked intentionally. Switch 2 might also be, I don't know, but it might have faster load times than the Switch 2, which could be interesting. There's a couple routes that might change with faster load times. Both of the early kingdom routes actually get faster with better load times because the painting loads that you take to get there are really long, and so is the assist mode warp load. Um, those are both really long loads because they're switching between kingdoms. Um, and so as load times get faster, those two routes get faster as well. So I'm not really worried about those routes, but there is another issue, which could be that 1.0 might become fast again, depending on how the loads work. If it makes the 1.0 loads faster, or at least like at the same speed, close to the same speed as the 1.3 loads, then 1.0 would become the fastest version of the game. And that would change the cascade route because you'd do first moon skip and just go straight to the brood fight. And that would also change a little bit in Luncheon because you can do Brunchin much easier jump for Brunchin on 1.0, a much faster jump. So could change a
I
couple
didn't,
things, but it won't change that much probably,
I didn't even think about that with the
unless they
1.0.
yeah
That could affect RTA too, couldn't it? If that happens.
it could
That would
yeah
be
that'd be fun.
terrible. That would not be good. And it would only be like no one would have like if it's not hackable, it would have to be like a physical
It would
1.0
have to be a
cartridge
cartridge
people would
from a
have.
factory
Oh
reset
God,
switch. Yeah.
that would be terrible. That would absolutely destroy this game's speedrunning scene for a while, probably. Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. I hope 1.0 doesn't become fast again. But
Yeah, I hope that whatever changes with the loads is equal to 1.0 and 1.3, but obviously can't tell until about a week from now. I guess
yeah,
just under a week from now, isn't it? That's crazy.
yeah,
Um,
it's a week from today, which is kind of crazy. I assume
oh,
you're getting a
yeah, yeah.
Switch too on launch.
I am. Yeah, I want to say I pre-ordered one. I pre-ordered two, actually, um,
Then
just in case. I don't know. Um, yeah, another thing could be that they might patch glitches. I don't know. They probably won't. They're probably just going to add the two-player thing. But they could patch glitches if they want to. Um, and that could be interesting to see what they patch out with that. Because there's some things they tried to patch out roll cancel clips in the past, but it didn't work. You can still do them, and I don't think there's any 1.0 only roll cancel clip anymore.
yeah,
Um, and they've patched out other things. They patched out obviously first moon skip. They patched out nut jumps. I don't know what else they could patch out, but
yeah.
yeah, that'll be definitely interesting.
I'll be so like it's interesting situation because like we know like the main things Nintendo is intending to add, kind of like how when they added like VR, that was like their main thing. But there's all of like the smaller things that they could change, and it's just it's scary and very interesting to think about, like, because you never know with Nintendo, like they could just be like some completely random shit that they changed for no
Yeah,
reason 7 years
they could
after the
just
game
decide
comes
to
out.
patch. Yeah, 8 years after the game comes out.
Yeah, they could
Like,
just, it's funny to think about. They could change, like, they could patch DSS for whatever reason, who knows? Like, just, like, do anything they wanted, because obviously it's their game. Um, like, what if they made, like, the warps, like, what if they made that work like Bowser's Fury all of a sudden, and then warps are just 2 seconds long, but then CRCs might not be possible, so it's like a whole, like, who knows what will happen.
I
So,
kind of doubt they would change
I
that.
don't think they would do
That
that,
seems
but
like,
yeah.
but it's like I don't know. They could just change anything they want, really. Um, so we're just gonna have to wait and see with that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see for sure. I kind of hope they just like change like one thing, just one completely random thing, and then leave the rest of the game the exact same. Like, I don't know, remove one of the Goombas in Sand Kingdom for no reason, and then don't do
Yeah.
anything else. That'd be such a Nintendo thing to do.
Move the
Um,
painting island a little bit farther back, and then you can't do
just
the
to fuck
brunch
with
jump.
Bruncheon, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. Um. Yeah, so when it comes to tassing, what are like obviously you've been tassing the lunch and stuff and some of the wooded shop to pipe stuff, which is a whole other reroute that
Mhm.
maybe we will, maybe we won't talk about. What are some of the other things that you've been tassing that no one knows about if you want to share? Because
Um. Well,
yeah,
they'll know about this by the time the video comes out. But I've been tasking Cap Kingdom, um, in two-player. Um, and it's gonna be Cap Kingdom for sure. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't want to say too much about it, but you should go check it out on my YouTube channel for sure. Um, and I've also um, uh, Morning Metro stuff. Obviously, we talked a little bit about that, but the section after Harriet, I tasked that, and the section before Harriet, where you do a skip, IP skip, to get on the IP, the inverted pyramid, before without going inside, which is a whole other thing. Um, with like a corner clip, and then doing some out of bounds movement to get over to the Harriet fight. So I've been trying some of those. The IP skip is really tough though because it's that clip is basically a ledge clip but horizontal. So that's another hard thing to test.
So have you just been tasking
And
like the
then
lone pillar moon to the Harriet fight, or like the whole segment?
yeah, pretty much just from the lone
Okay.
pillar moon because I can't. Well, the whole segment is really long,
Yeah.
and I'm just probably not going to do that until we get save states because that's like a 2 minute segment with
Yeah.
one roll cancel clip as well, and then IP skip at the very end, and it's just going to be terrible to task. Um, so I'm not looking forward to that at all. But yeah,
So when does a segment like become like something you can start fresh from? Like, would Harriet be like can you start a Harriet task starting at the cutscene, or would that wouldn't be connected to the whole long segment, I assume, right?
yeah. So anything that places Mario at a consistent position and with a consistent camera angle and a consistent nerve and state and all that, um, is where you can splice. Well, I say splice, but you're really just like putting in the rest of the script. Um, so obviously, anytime you exit a loading zone, that's going to be an obvious spot where you can do that. But entering boss fights is another place. Usually, sometimes in a boss fight, it actually matters what was happening before the boss fight. Um, for example, in Cap and Topper fight, you do an instant CRC again with the cutscene to hit Topper, which is on the first frame to
Okay.
CRC Cappy into Topper. Yeah, and you do uh, you don't fight Madame Brute anymore in the route, but if you did, if first moon skip was a thing, then you would do the same thing. I instant CRC into the chain chomp. And in Night Metro, for the restricted route, you do an instant CRC to the tank. Um, so sometimes there is an instant CRC at the start of the boss fight, and then you can't splice there, but you can splice in other points, um, and then that's fine.
Okay. So when it comes to your tasks, because my working theory is that you have full game tasks just stored in a full folder, but they're not good enough yet, so
No.
you're just keeping them to yourself. So how many, like what percentage of your tasks have remained to be unseen by anyone but you and maybe a couple other people?
Well, I think for the most part, it's just that they're not finished. Like it's only like part of the
Yeah.
segment that's been tasked, and then I'm like, I tasked that, and then I'm like, ooh, okay. Well, now I know how much this saves. A lot of the tasks is like experimenting, like to try to figure out what routes are gonna be good. Like I'll task when I was experimenting with the wooded route, I tasked the tower because there was a bunch of different ideas for the wooded route. Um, And so I was tasking like inside the tower going from the bottom, inside the tower going from the top. Um, I think I released the one from the bottom actually, but and then I was also testing like going from the tower to corner nut, going from the tower to pipes, going from the tower to other places, going from other places to the tower. Um, and so a lot of those tasks are like they're done enough that I can see how much time it'll take to do the whole segment, and I can figure out what the optimal route is, and then task that is kind of the goal with those. But they're not done enough to be like releasable, like um, things that would actually put out there. Um, and especially because they're not even oftentimes not even part of the final route. So Um, like I could release the tower task from the top, but like I why? Because there's no category now that would go in from the top there, and 90% just doesn't even touch the tower anymore. So
You should
yeah,
just like put them in the server just for fun, so I
I
can
put them
watch them.
in Whip Showcase. If you look through Whip
Okay.
Showcase, then you can find them.
I do watch everything in Whip Showcase, I will say. I'm actively checking there. I'm too lazy to task
Yeah.
myself. I don't have the time. That's the other thing I think is time is a big thing of it, right? Being able to like actually have time to task it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't know.
Takes a long time.
And then also like I think you overestimate how smart I am. Like I think most people could task, but I don't think I could. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I can't even like go onto my hack switch without there being a 2 hour problem every single time that I have to deal with. And like then I have to start harassing Gorgonin to help me. It's like a whole process. Um, but yeah, next for the big question when it comes to tasks, um, maybe this will be like what I'd have the title be or something. But how close are we actually to the full game task? When's the release date for that?
The release date for the full game test. It's not this year, I can tell you that. And it might be next year, but it'll depend on
Really?
a lot of things. It would if it's next year, it would be really, really late next year, and I would have to work really hard to get that done. Um, but it'll probably be 2027. Um,
Uh,
that's what I'm shooting for right now. It's the date keeps getting pushed back because I keep finding new routes
yeah,
and
that's the
new
thing.
strats and new things. Um, and yeah, but if we get the save states mod, which I think Tetraxylate, I don't know how to pronounce.
I don't know. I think it's Tetra
Um,
Exile, but I don't know.
I don't know, whatever. I think Tetra, she's working on that mod, and once we get that, it'll speed things up significantly because we won't have to wait 5 billion years every time I make an edit to the script, and it'll be way easier to do stuff like roll cancel clips, ledge clips, the choke points, kind of how long it will take for me to test something. So yeah, that would be huge when that comes out, and that'll speed things up a lot. Um, but if that comes out next year, then I could see it. If it comes out like late this year or early next year, then it could for sure happen um, by like Christmas of next year. But it would be tough still.
Yeah,
There's still a lot to do. There's I think probably around 50%. I always say this, but it's probably is around 50% of the segments have been tasked, but a lot of them need to be redone. Like Bowser's Kingdom has been tasked, but they didn't do or Aurora may task Bowser's Kingdom at the start of Bowser's Kingdom, and Zibbler tasked the end of Bowser's Kingdom. But Zibbler wasn't in 2P. Zibbler was in 1P, and Arome didn't do the wire tram strat for the behind the big wall moon, which is faster than crates. Maybe I don't know, but that's a route that's in question. But so basically, all of Bowser needs to be redone. Because even though you can splice on the wire, because the wire gives you consistent camera and position, but the stuff that you do before will affect the cycles later. Um, so that also needs to be like camera manipped and stuff. So there's a bunch of stuff in Bowser's. Moon, the end of Moon is done, but it needs to be redone because BTT actually beat the TAS because
yeah.
my TAS was not great. Um, so I need to redo Escape. I need to do Moon Overworld. The Bowser fight is fine. Um, Cloud is basically done. I just need to do the actual fight, which is annoying because it's
That's like
RNG.
isn't that like the whole Cloud Kingdom?
Yeah, but no. The fight is free. It's a boss fight. It's so easy to test, but it's the RNG that's the issue there. Um, it is like the whole kingdom though.
Cloud's basically done. We
um,
just got like the main part of it to task still.
yeah. Cascade has a little bit worked on, but it not a lot because there's two roll cancel clips in the Cascade route. And yeah, that'll be tough to do without save states. Probably gonna wait until the save states mod for that. And same with sand, the main sand segment. is probably gonna have to wait until save states as well. And then Lake could get done. I could see Lake getting finished soon, like this year probably, depending on if I prioritize that or if I prioritize morning metro after I finish brunch. We'll see about that. I don't know how I'm feeling about either of those, but Wooded is another one that I think I might just wait for the save states mod. But if it doesn't come out, then Wooded would be my next thing after Lake and Metro. Because that is the rule cancel clip shouldn't be that bad, but it's probably going to be bad. Lost. Oh, Lost is a whole other issue. The trees are RNG'd. Basically, the trees move and the leaves move in the wind, and that movement is RNG, and so it's really you can't task it consistently because it's RNG every time. And there's like a whole debate about like should we just like use a consistent value, just make the leaves don't move, make it with a mod, and just edit that, or should we put it like should we just let it be RNG and not do anything about it? I don't know. A whole argument about that, but probably if Lost is like the last kingdom to be tasked, someone's probably going to make a fix because there'll be more pressure on actually getting that figured out. Same with Seaside. The waves in Seaside are RNG as well. And it's the same thing with Lost. We talked about Metro. Snow has 2 RCCs, rule cancel clips, but they are each from like a loading zone, so they might not be quite as bad to test. We'll see. Because they're each like 5 seconds into the second, like it's not that far in.
Yeah.
Snow is really interesting. I don't know. Snow has cool strats with quick turn rolls in the ice Goomba room. I could see Snow getting done this year too, depending on how bad the RCCs are. I don't know. I haven't really tried Snow that much, but. And then Ruined is another one that could easily be done this year, but I just don't really care about Ruined that much because it's so small. The fight's already been tasked. There's not really much I can do there, so it's like just the start that's different, and then you can splice in the fight, the dragon fight. So Ruined's not really an issue. I'm not concerned about Ruined. Bowser's is an issue. We talked about Bowser. I think we talked about everything.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's so much to be done, but at the same time, so much has been done. But like
Yeah.
with the reroutes, like I feel like so many of the TASes are just like outdated now. Like I look at I have like a task playlist on YouTube that I'm sure you've seen before. It's just every single
Yeah.
task that I've found on YouTube, like from the Discord server and stuff. Which yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm actually like supposed to be adding stuff to that sometimes that like aren't public. Um, but that playlist, like I look at the 2P now, and it's just like so much of it is just not even like so much of it I know
Yeah.
needs to be retasked or isn't even like relevant now. So it's interesting to
All of
see like how
everything
much.
Roma has done is no longer relevant,
Yeah,
except for like the Shards Island that could be used, but everything else is like um, not really relevant. Because there's also some strats. There's some ideas of setting up a CRC during the Topper fight in Bowser's, and like CRCing to the Pokio after the moon.
ooh, pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't know. I don't know how well that'll work. Because you can fight Topper without Cappy, so that's kind of the idea with that. And that would also mandate Harry at first. So there's an objectively correct option for all those people that are Topper first lovers. I don't respect you.
Uh, I feel like most people are Harriet first, just because that's
Yeah.
what has always been BTT. I feel like so. It's
Yeah,
not
BTT's
a
always
big
been Harry at
loss.
first, and
Yeah.
TAS also does Harry at first, and I don't know. You read things left to right. I mean, it's an order that makes sense. So
Yeah. Anyway, so when it comes to tests, do you think 1P full game tasks will happen before a 2P full game test or after? Because obviously right now you're definitely mainly working on 2P stuff, so I think 2P has the edge right
Yeah.
now.
So 2P is definitely having more progress being made, but 1P is farther along, but 2P is going faster, I'd say. Because 1P Cap and Cascade have already been tasked, but Cap needs to be redone. Cascade probably needs to be redone. Mars, who tasked Cascade, who is a whole other terrible
Yeah,
person,
we don't need to talk about
um,
that.
did not have a very good chest clip segment that needs to be redone. But the start of Sand was tasked that needs to be redone because of um, the is it yeah, the sand fire, whatever, after the Dune Moon that was not found when that was tasked. Um, I think most of what it actually is done in one player, and there's not a new route happening for one player. Probably not a new route ever gonna happen. So, um, it might happen in 1P. We'll see with Switch 2 loads. That might change things, but there's probably not gonna be a new route with Wooded, and Wooded's almost done. Just the start from entering the kingdom to the shot moon is the only thing that hasn't been done. Just because
Yeah.
the slopes are kind of tough to roll to get optimal rolls for. But everything else is done in wooded. I could see that having a full TAS in 1P soon if someone just TASes the start. Um, Lake is getting progress. People are making progress on Lake actually. Bella has been tasking a lot of this
Oh, yeah, that's
stuff
true.
after Lake Flip. Um, and I think some other people also worked on that task. What else? Metro is almost done in 1P actually, but the City Hall skip task needs to be reworked because they did like a triple jump before City Hall skip, but you can just do a spin hunt jump and still make it, and it's fine. Um, and so the City Hall skip task in Night Metro needs to be redone. The Night Metro task for oh, actually, I forgot Night Metro has a whole other route. So in the Wiggler fight, you clip out of the Wiggler fight, and you get a moon during it because otherwise you're just waiting and not doing anything during the Wiggler fight. But and that's stuff you can do in RTA in any percent just normally. But with the task, you can actually do two moons in the Wiggler fight. You do the Iron Girder moon and the Girder Sandwich moon, which normally it's really fast to get the Girder Sandwich moon just normally in Night Metro, but for tasks, you can just go through the center of Night Metro, not even go over near the Girder Sandwich Moon. So it's like 3 seconds, and then get it during the Wheeler fight. So yeah, basically all of Night Metro needs to be redone, but there's already been some progress on this. It's called Centro because you're going through the center of Night Metro. The Centro task has some progress, and the double Giggler task also was almost finished, but it was made by Vitox, who also cheated BTT segments and is now has left the community. So weirdly, a lot of controversial TASers, but
Yeah.
Cheese Star was also TASing, and yeah, so lots of controversial TASers in the community, but Cheese Star never made any good TASes, so that's fine.
Oh, shots
Um,
fired. I'm gonna get
yeah.
cheese
Ooh,
stir
what's Cheese
on
Star
them.
gonna do now? Um,
Dude,
Snow and
after I made
Seaside.
sorry, this is a side story, but after I made a reverse dram tutorial at one point. This was like a year after Cheese Star and I stopped talking because at one point me and Cheese Star were talking and it was not good for my mental health. Um, and he randomly like just messaged me after I made my reverse dram tutorial, and he was like correcting me on a bunch of shit that I was right about. He was just telling me all this, like he was like, reverse dram saves like 3 seconds and this and this, and he was just telling me all this like stuff that's not even true, and I was just like, bro, just go back away. Like, why are you randomly messaging me after a year about this? Like,
What is bro doing? That's
yeah.
crazy.
Anyway, yeah. Anyway, what were you saying about snow?
Yeah.
So,
Snow is pretty close to done. I think some people have started testing the start of snow. Um, the stuff in Shiveria is actually almost complete. Because the Goomba room has been tasked, the Rango room because it does a crazy route. Everything except for the roll cancel clips, basically has been tasked. Except I think the Taifu room needs to be redone. But um, other than that, snow's pretty close. It's probably halfway in snow. And then seaside, just the start of it is done, but then and obviously because the way is still the same issue, loss is the same issue as 2P. Um, Luncheon, a lot of 1P luncheon is actually test, but there's one segment from the. Oh, I guess it doesn't even do slots anymore. That needs to be completely redone. Because people were doing from slots room to forks room, but now slots is not even in the route because you
yeah,
do the shards moon in the cheese room. So yeah, but that needs to be redone. The cheese room needs to be done. But the stuff from in 1P from cheese room to enter magma mineral path is done. So that's cool. And the magma mineral path sub area is also done. But it's not, no one uploaded it. I don't know why, but it's in Whip Showcase. The tower challenge needs to be done as well. Or no, it was done. So luncheon is
yeah.
pretty close. It's just that one segment from exiting the magma swamp to entering forks. But other than that, I think. Oh, and the start, I guess, but that's not that bad. I think. Well, I think it was Mighty Owl working on the start actually, so might not be too long before a full 1P luncheon task. And then Bowser's, obviously the mech split is all done. Zibbler task, all that crazy task. You should watch that on Zibbler's channel.
Very good test, yeah.
Um, yeah, but the bunnies task for the start of Bowser's is also pretty close. I think everything the Shards Island has been tasked. I think everything actually has been tasked except for the Topper fight because the Topper fight is really weird.
I thought I
Um,
saw a task of the topper fight, but I don't think it was finished.
yeah, there's a task in the Topper fight, but it's not like good. There's
Yeah.
time saves in the Topper fight, but other than that, Buzzers is pretty much done. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
And
And
then Moon
then
has like the whole surface to task, right?
Moon has the whole service needs to be tasked, and then there's the same escape problem where my
Yeah.
escape task was not optimal, but yeah. So One
Alright,
Piece
well,
farther along, I'd say, than 2P, but 2P's moving faster because I've been grinding.
yeah. It's crazy how like how much stuff has been tasked, but like so much of it needs to be reworked that it feels like it could be so long before a task actually comes out for the full game. But yeah. Anyway, outside of tasks, wrapping up in a little bit here. Um, what do you like to do in spare time? Who are some of your closest friends in the Odyssey community?
Um, so yeah, I hang a lot around some of the people who have done min caps. Kale, Gorgonim, Esmo Joy-Con, Red Slay, um, Games Jam. A lot of people in the low percent server who have done stuff for low percent, and that also sometimes task Games Jam makes tasks. Um, and Burt Miller also is in that server. Schwendy. Um, you're in that server actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I am.
Um, yeah. We hang out a lot in the called the Grams Extended Universe. Um, and yeah, that's usually what I'm doing. Um, Sometimes I also like to to play Mario Kart. I'm in a Mario Kart esports team in my college.
All right.
Yeah, we won nationals twice in a row, and yeah, I play a lot of Mario Kart, and that's pretty much what I do. Oh, I talk to Grady and Cherry sometimes in their server and Gateway. I don't know. A lot of the people, a lot of the people from low percent who do low percent stuff
Yeah.
in general.
So finally, when it comes to your, we talked a lot about TAS, obviously, which is tool assisted, but when it comes to RTA, how appealing is that to you? Do you do any RTA speedrunning sometimes? Or...
Yeah, so I do some speedruns sometimes. I do all moons sometimes in races, but I've never finished an all moons race. I always crash out in like cap 2, and then I just reset.
Cap 2? That's like one of the best sports.
It's like, well, because it's the main game is terrible, and then I feel like moonrock jumping cap 2, and I'm just like, it's so over. And
Okay.
then yeah, or I'll have like a really bad mushroom one, or like I'll continue it, and then I just
Oh
cap
yeah,
2 is usually
mushroom
just
one
the
is
last straw.
mushroom one is terrible.
Yeah, I do darker side. Also usually in races with some other people. Sometimes I also do a lot of SML online stuff. I do some hide and seek or speed runs with like Sudai's community, Sudai Delphi. Or sometimes I'll do like hide and seek with some of SML boys, YT SML boy, some of his friends. So I do some SML online stuff as well. And I do some any percent. My PP's a 102.25. It's not very good. I was on 101 pace into mech, and then I died on my way to the mech fight. It was not good.
That sucks.
Yeah, but other than that, I do bingo. Bingo's fun sometimes. I don't know. I just do a lot of Odyssey stuff in general.
Oh yeah, we've had some
Just
crazy
random.
bingo matches. Now that I think about it, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like every time I play you in bingo, it's like within 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Like I think we've had like
yeah.
a couple
It's
races like that. I remember there was one bingo tournament that went horribly, and I was like one of the I basically you were my only tough match. I feel like because I think I beat you by like 1 second. Every other match I just won
yeah.
by the other person forfeiting, and then I won $50 for doing almost nothing. So that was a fun tournament.
Yeah.
Good times. Um, but yeah. Anyway, before we end, I have a bit of a speed round here. Some quick questions. To ask, which I've been doing for the last few episodes. It's been a fun ending thing to do. So first, what is just first answer that comes to mind? You can elaborate if you wish to. What is the task that you've made that you are proudest of?
Oh, that's actually kind of a tough question. Like picking your favorite child. Um. uh. Ooh, that it would have to be. It would have to be Cap. I
Okay.
think just because it's the most recent. It's as far as I know optimal. But I'm sure I'll find things later, and I'll have to redo it all, and then it'll be a terrible, terrible thing. But
Yeah.
for now, it's optimal, and yeah, there's some other stuff that I like a lot. I like the warp from warping to the city hall to entering people's room. I like that segment a lot because of that. I like the dram that it does to the
The
wire.
dram was pretty cool.
I
Yeah.
also, yeah, I like the task that I showed today, that you showed today.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot, and I like escape a lot, but it's not optimal.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah.
Right. And then outside of yourself, what's your favorite task made by someone else that had you the most shocked when you first saw it?
Um, probably when I first saw it, probably one of Arolme's TASes. because I think Arome was some of the first TASes that I watched were Arome TASes. Probably I think the luncheon TAS from Arome
Yeah,
had me pretty shocked. But then, um, with like a lot of Zivler's TASes are crazy. I talked about it already, but the cheese rocks to enter magma room,
yeah,
um, the one player task for that is insane. He was doing so much stuff with the turnip that I just never thought of before, and I was like, that's just crazy. And um, what other tasks are there? The Zivler Task Festival. Um, that was cool because there was a lot of 2D tech that I didn't know about, or that I
yeah,
maybe knew about, but like I hadn't seen like implemented.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I think for me, one of the craziest tasks is, uh, well, for you, for your tasks, the one that like had me like the most intrigued was probably the wooded one that you've been working on, just because of like it's just nonstop cool stuff. And then outside of that, I think well, this is a pretty small one, but the night metro tower climb that Zivler did at one point with like the really
Oh yeah,
really
that one
fast
was
like
cool.
pole climb was just like completely shocking the first time I saw that. Um, but yeah, anyway, next
Oh, I guess
you show a lot
the
of
first time that I saw a
oh yeah.
City Hall skip, I want to
Oh
talk about
yeah,
this. The first time that I
that
saw
one was
City Hall
crazy.
skip was crazy. Well, okay, I knew that it was a thing. I knew that it was being tasked because Relaxmans had actually um like DM'd me a little bit about it. But it was still crazy to see that it was actually like a thing. And yeah, that was a crazy task too.
Yeah, I
But
didn't
yeah,
know
go
about it at
on.
all. That was like shocking when I saw that. And it was also like the same day as like five other TASes being released, I'm pretty sure, which
Yeah,
made
yeah,
it
that
even
too. That
crazier.
was a crazy day.
They should do that like once every year. That'd be a fun like event.
There aren't enough tasks made in a year. That was like 2 years of tasks.
Yeah. Um, okay. What is one task that has not been made yet that you really want to see made? Like it could be sub area, it could be a segment of any percent. Just like the one that you want to see made the most, I guess.
I think 2P Cascade is really cool because it doesn't fight Madame Brood, even it says the min caps route.
Yeah.
And BTC does that now too. But I think just seeing like all of like the CRC doing that like instantly and without a setup and like first moon clip and the other clips, I think it's just really cool. It would be really cool to see. But also Wooded has a really cool route as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like most of the interesting sub areas have already been tasked because they're
Yeah.
interesting. So
All right. Well, you show a lot of BTT videos during your tasking live streams. In the background, what's your favorite BTT video?
my favorite BTT video has to be. I gotta say either one player BTTV 9 or two player BTTV 5 because I'm in both of those videos. Um, oh, I'm also in the Almond 3GT. I forgot about that.
You're in one
But
PVTT nine?
yeah, I have the
Wait,
segment,
what's
or
that?
I had the segment. Lex took it recently, but I had the segment in snow from uh, the Rango Rim
Uh,
moon to exiting the area. Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, it's basically just a spin pound and roll cancel, but I was proud of it.
Yeah,
um, I think probably one player BTTV 9. It's just cool to watch. It has good music. Um, two player V5 is close though.
yeah,
Um, but one player has a lot of cool strats too. Like two player doesn't even do the new snow route because it's slower for BTT, but it's faster for TAS.
okay,
So
yeah. Both of those are very good picks. I think they, Mark Lucas and Zach in the Box did a very good job on both of those videos.
yeah,
Um, Outside of tasks, what is your proudest accomplishment in Odyssey?
my proudest accomplishment in Odyssey. Um, I think it's probably just my any percent time. I don't know. I
Right.
guess I did minimum captures darker side once. That was a long time ago. It wasn't that
That's
long ago.
hard,
It was
yeah.
like a few months ago. It's not that bad anymore because we found a bunch of new, easier
Yeah.
moons. Um, I did. I don't know. That's kind of a tough question, but I probably just my 90% time. It's probably just
Okay.
the thing that I spent the longest on grinding and stuff.
All right. What is your favorite streamer to watch in your spare time?
My favorite streamer to watch is it's got to be Zach 207.
Yes. Final.
And the blindfolded Cather Cascade.
That was
That got
fun.
me eyes glued to the screen, bro. Um, no, I think it's probably Zach in the box. I think you're the inferior Zach. I'm sorry.
No. That's fair.
Um, just because he does so much 2P stuff with Jambo, and I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah, that
and
makes
he does
sense.
like other stuff too, and it's just a vibe. So,
Yeah, I mean, he definitely takes streaming more seriously than me, so I understand the
mhm.
decision. Um, and then final question, speed round. What's your favorite movie of all time outside of
My
gaming?
favorite movie of all time. Um, Probably Spider-Man. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I really
Good
like that
choice.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good
yeah.
one. Well, thank you for joining. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, my YouTube channel. Go, give that a subscribe. Placid Mink. Just no spaces. Placid Mink. My Twitch channel. Go drop me a follow on Twitch. It's Placid underscore Mink on Twitch because I am stupid and I lost the Placid Mink account. Um, and yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, those will be in the description. Next episode will be out in 2 weeks from when this comes out. For the YouTube viewers. This will probably be my last video before Switch 2 comes out. By the time this comes out, I should have my annual KFR World Record compilation should have come out yesterday probably, because it's my 5 year YouTube anniversary. But yeah, this Switch 2, I'm hopefully gonna have a lot of coverage. I want to do a stream where we do like a 24-person online lobby, with a bunch of people. If you want to join that, Placid, you're more than welcome to. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna invite a lot of people to do that because that could be fun. But yeah, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Speed Talk, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you again for joining. But yeah, bye.